Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And good morning, Instagram fam, friends and followers of as-Saafiy. And welcome to another episode of Revert Reflections. This week, brothers and sisters, we've highlighted some of the erroneous interpretations of the concepts of ease and moderation in Islam, as well as the misinterpretation of some verses pertaining to the subject. In closing, I would like to say that as we strive as sincere followers of Islam to appropriately comprehend and apply these concepts in our lives, a key component in that process is at-Tajarrud. At-Tajarrud basically means true impartiality and freedom from being influenced by our personal biases or desires or ulterior motives. To make my point, this point about the importance and the critical nature of at-Tajarrud as we try to understand and apply these important Islamic concepts, one of them being the concept of ease and the concept of moderation in Islam. In order to make my point, let me briefly digress. There's a statement made by the fourth caliph, the fourth rightly guided caliph, Ali bin Abi Talib, in which he said to a group of people, "Kalimatu haqqin uridu biha batil." He said, truthful words said erroneously and insincerely to make an invalid point. The context of the statement that was made by this great companion of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the fourth rightly guided caliph is that during his time there were several disagreements that occurred amongst the Muslims. And in an effort to solve those disagreements, to resolve those disagreements and to reunite the Ummah, Ali bin Abi Talib, the fourth rightly guided caliph, he passed judgment in a manner in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had allowed human beings and leaders to pass judgment. So he passed this judgment. But the people, or some of the people, they wanted things done a certain way. And the judgment that Ali passed didn't follow their script. They wanted to have their way. And when he passed judgment, radiallahu anhu, the judgment wasn't in their favor and things didn't end up going their way. So in objection to what Ali had done, they tried to accuse him of doing something irreligious, something that contradicted the religion, and they quoted a verse in which Allah says, "In al-hukmu illa lillah." The judgment is only for Allah, as if to say you have no right to judge. And since you judged, you did something wrong. You violated the teachings of the religion. And obviously, as we stated at the outset, Ali at that time, he did pass judgment, but he judged in a matter in which Allah had permitted judgment. And so the judgment of Ali was not applicable, the verse was not applicable to the judgment that was passed by Ali radiallahu anhu. The verse didn't apply. It wasn't appropriate. And as a consequence, Ali bin Abi Talib, he made this statement, "Kalimatu haqqin uridu biha batil." He said, these are truthful words said erroneously and insincerely to make an invalid point. So now let me come back. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, we fall into this. Perhaps inadvertently or unintentionally, but we fall into it all the same. Sometimes we're really not fond of an Islamic teaching, or we wish some Islamic things were some other way. Deep down inside ourselves, we know Islam is the right religion, Islam is the truth, Allah is the truth, the messenger is the truth. But there are some things in Islam that we struggle with. We struggle to accept them, we struggle to practice them. And rather than accept that specific teaching or legislation as revealed by Allah, taught by his messenger, and explained by the scholars, explained by the people who really know. They know in ways that we don't know. They have studied in ways we haven't studied. They have a depth and breadth of understanding that we just can't claim to have. Rather than accepting that specific teaching, and we quote general verses about ease with an eye toward delegitimizing the teaching and letting ourselves off the hook or justifying our refusal to carry it out, to do what we've been asked to do. This is what we do. We have a very specific teaching, like the case of the specific judgment passed by Ali in an area or in a realm in which he was permitted to judge. But people don't like the judgment, so they quote something general. In al-hukmu illa lillah. Indeed, judgment is only for Allah. You have no right to judge. Based upon this general verse, although in this specific area, I've been allowed by Allah to judge. Similarly, we have a specific teaching from Allah, specific legislation from the Prophet, explained specifically by the scholars and given certain preconditions and prerequisites and requirements. And we don't like it. And so we start quoting general verses about ease and trying to make this square peg fit into what? Into this round hole. To let ourselves off the hook and justify our refusal to do as we've been commanded and instructed. This is the opposite, brothers and sisters, of how we should behave as sincere seekers of truth and people who desire to follow true Islam. And this is precisely what Ali ibn Abi Talib was talking about, was referring to when he said, Kalimatu haqqin uridu biha batil. Truthful words said erroneously and insincerely to make an invalid point. We ask Allah, Jalla Jalaluhu wa Adham Sultanu, to not make us from those people who quote things erroneously, just throw anything to see what will stick, to get out of doing something that they're required to do, or to make something required that they want to be required, which is really not required. We ask Allah not to make us from those people. We ask Allah to make us from the sincere Muslims, the sincere seekers of truth and followers of truth. And as always, we close on Friday asking and pleading with our followers and our viewers to share the content, to get it out there, to get the word out there that we're doing this every morning, to let as many people lay eyes on these and ears on these segments as possible, so that we can spread the word of Allah, spread the word of Islam pure and simple, al-Islam as-Saafiy, to as many people as possible. We need your help and your assistance. Please help us in this effort, in this work. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala disseminate His reward for these words to all of us. Make all of us recipients for the efforts that we made in getting the truth out there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in closing that He bless your houses, bless your spouses, bless your children, bless your sources of livelihood and income. That He blesses the rest of your day, that He showers you with His blessings and surrounds you with His protection. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses you and blesses what remains of your day, blesses you and make you blessed wherever you may be. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.